Once upon a time, in a land where reality seemed to waver like heat waves on a summer day, there was a house like no others. This house was called the House of Whimsy, and it was nestled at the edge of the enchanted forest, a place where magic and mystery intertwined seamlessly. The House of Whimsy was not built from conventional materials. Its walls were made of a liquid-like substance that changed color and shape with the passing thoughts of its inhabitants. The roof was a living garden where flowers bloomed in mid-air and sang softly when the wind blew.
Hey there! No, I haven't seen him. Was he your friend? No? Oh, okay. How come you're looking for him then?
That's not alien.
How did you find it? How'd you find the poster?
We're not very talkative.
The windows were made of transparent, ever-shifting crystal, offering views that changed with every blink. The house had an unusual feature. It floated in mid-air, held aloft by a whimsical enchantment. Underneath it was anchored to the ground by a large twisted tree that seemed to grow from the very essence of the house itself. The tree's roots extended deep into earth, while its branches stretched out like a protective embrace around the floating abode. Inside the House of Whimsy, every room was a marvel. The living room, for example, was a gigantic, spherical space where the ceiling resembled a night sky filled with constellations. The floor, made of a soft, bouncy material, changed patterns based on the mood of the peoples inside. If someone was happy, the floor would sparkle like starry night. If someone was thoughtful, it would become a serene, rippling pond. The kitchen was a true wonder of culinary magic. Instead of traditional appliances, The kitchen was filled with floating ingredients and utensils. The stove was a magical portal that could summon any dish from across the realms. Whether it was a delicious stew from a crystal caves or a light salad from a floating gardens. Meals prepared themselves with a gentle hum and delightful aroma that danced through the air. But the most remarkable feature of the House of Whimsy was its library of echoes. The library was a room of infinite bookshelves that seemed to stretch into a horizon. The books themselves were alive, with covers that would change illustrations based on their readers' thoughts. If you thought of a grand adventure, the book would open to a thrilling quest. If you wished for a soothing tale, the book would unfold a peaceful story. The library had a magical feature where the books could even whisper their stories to you, making reading an immersive experience. One day, a young girl named Alara stumbled upon the House of Whimsy while wandering through the enchanted forest. She was drawn to it by the enchanting melodies of the floating flowers and the soft glow of the ever-shifting windows. Alara, a curious and imaginative child, was greeted by the house as if it were an old friend. As Alara stepped inside, the house sensed her boundless creativity and warmth. The floors sparkled with the joy of meeting someone new, and the library of echoes began to glow softly, ready to share its secrets. Alara explored each room with wide-eyed wonder, marveling at the magical appliances and the living books.
Bill crunching ATM in the alley? Why don't you go up to him, punch in 2525 and see what happens?
Even she reached the heart of the house, a cozy room with a fireplace that danced with the hues of blues and gold. She discovered a special book resting on a pedestal. The book had no title, but as she opened it, the pages began to turn on their own, revealing a story of a young girl who discovered the magical house and brought joy and wonder to its enchanted halls. Elara realized that this story was about her and that the House of Whimsy had been waiting for someone like her, someone with a heart full of wonder and imagination. As she read, the house responded with an even more dazzling display of lights and colors, as if celebrating the new friend it had found. Elara decided to stay and live in the House of Whimsy. She became its caretaker, and the house continued to be a place of magic and delight. It welcomed travelers from all over the world, sharing its enchantments and stories with anyone who had a heart open to wonder. And so the House of Whimsy floated above the enchanted forest, a beacon of magic and imagination. It remained a space where every day was a new adventure, where dreams came alive, and where the magic of the world was ever present. Elara and the House of Whimsy lived happily ever after, surrounded by endless marvels of a world where anything was possible. My friends, let me also tell you a story of a planet where this magical house was. In a galaxy far, far away, there was a colorful planet called Cromara. Cromara was no ordinary planet. It was a world full of vibrant colors and magical creatures. The sky was a swirl of pink and orange. The oceans sparkled in shades of turquoise and violet, and the land was covered in fields of rainbow-colored flowers. On Cromara, every day was a celebration of color. The creatures who lived there were just as extraordinary as their world. There were the lumilites, small glowing beings who floated around like tiny stars, and the flutter feathers, birds with wings that changed colors as they flew. The trees had leaves of all different hues, and their fruits were so bright they looked like jewels. In the heart of Kramara stood a grand palace made entirely of shimmering crystal. This was where the Kramara queen, a wise and gentle ruler named Iridia, lived. Queen Iridia was known for her kindness and her ability to create beautiful rainbows that stretched across the sky. She had a special gift. She could mix colors to make new and stunning shades that no one had ever seen before. One day, Queen Irdir noticed that the colors on Kramara were starting to fade. The sky turned dull, the oceans lost their sparkle, and the flowers lost their brilliance. The queen was deeply worried. She called upon the most skilled color masters of the land to help her find out what was wrong. The color masters traveled far and wide across Kramara, searching for clues. They climbed the tallest mountains, dived into the deepest oceans, and explored the darkest forests. After a long journey, they discovered that the colors were fading because a mischievous creature called the Grey Goblin have been stealing the colors to create his own gray world. The Grey Goblin lived in a hidden cave where he kept all the colors he had stolen. He loved the idea of having a world that was all gray because it was different from anything he had ever seen. However, he didn't realize that Kramara's beauty came from its endless variety of colors. The color master and Queen India decided they needed to show the Grey Goblin how wonderful and joyful Cromara was with its vibrant colors. They prepared a grand parade filled with every color imaginable. The lumilights floated above, casting colorful lights, and the flutter feathers flew in dazzling patterns. The flowers bloomed even brighter, and the crystal palace sparkled like never before. When the Grey Goblin saw the parade, he was amazed. He had never seen anything so beautiful. The colors filled him with joy, and he realized that his gray world was missing something very special. He understood now that colors were what made Cromara unique and full of life. Feeling sorry for his actions, the Grey Goblin agreed to return all the stolen colors. With the help of the color masters and Queen Iridia, he carefully placed the colors back into the sky, the oceans, and the land. As the colors returned, Cromara's beauty was restored, and the planet sparkled even more brightly than before. The Grey Goblin was invited to stay in Cromara, and he happily accepted. He learned to appreciate and embrace the colors around him, and he became a cherished friend of the Queen and the other creatures. From that day on, Cromara was more vibrant than ever, and the Grey Goblin found joy in sharing and celebrating the beautiful colors with everyone. The planet continued to be a place where every day was a festival of colors, and all its inhabitants lived happily ever after, surrounded by the magic of their colorful world. In that big house, there was an ancient, magical refrigerator that could transport anyone to different worlds. One evening, some curious people discovered this secret and something happened. As they entered the fridge, they found themselves on a mesmerizing red planet. The landscape was covered in crimson sands and dotted with glowing plants and crystals. They marveled at the alien beauty before them. They entered a stunning, otherworldly kitchen. Glowing appliances and shimmering ingredients filled the room, illuminated by a floating chandelier. At the center of the kitchen was a grand stove, like regular but even more magnificent. A note next to it read, "Welcome, traveler. You have found the kitchen of worlds. Enjoy your journey and remember every word holds its own magic." Then people discovered a weird and nasty looking room. When they opened it, they found a room unlike any other. Its walls were covered in eerie symbols that glowed faintly, and the air was thick with a chilling, oppressive energy. Strange, unsettling noises echoed through the space, and the room seemed to pulse with a malevolent force. Feeling a rush of excitement, people explored the magical house, knowing that they were led to places of endless possibilities. They felt a sense of wonder and eager to the next adventure they would be taken on.